de la Côte. Bonjour. Good morning, everyone. I have a very honorable task today, but I just have to say a word to the youth panel. Joni, if I can pick up on your words, to ever question that you are not enough. You are so much more than enough. You are the answer to all our prayers. I told you yesterday that when the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was here in Montreal, the theme of our gathering was humility. And one of the teachings I received about humility is that we have to accept that all the dreams we may have in our present moment may not be realized in our own lifetimes, but that we have to have hope that other good people will come along and will continue the good work and will carry it forward. And I just had to share that because I was looking at these young people and saying, yes, this is true. This is the proof that that is so. And so I just really want to honor your strong voices, but I also want to use it as a segue in greeting all of you survivors and all of you here today to tell you that I was about your age when I first met our honored guest today. We were young people, and so you don't know when you have your circles of young people what other amazing young people you may be meeting and what futures may be in store for you. And I was a young journalist when I first met Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Mary Simon, who is now the first Indigenous Governor General of Canada. And we've had an unusual, unexpected, and beautiful relationship over the years where she has done amazing things and I have got to report on it. That's very simplified, but that is how we met. You have her resume in your book. I know it's very comprehensive. J'ai pas du tout l'intention de tout répéter ni de lire qu'est-ce qu'il y a dans le programme qui détaille tous les achèvements de Madame Mary Simon. What I do want to tell you in addition to those words there is just to say that she has basically come from the same humble roots as many in this room, and she has done what Senator Odette talked about yesterday of try to change things from within systems while also spending many years changing things from without. And by that I'm talking about government now. Trying to change within Indigenous leadership and Indigenous organizations. She has served at almost every available level of Inuit leadership in this province, in this country, and in this circumpolar world. She has been a diplomat, the first Inuk to ever serve as an official Canadian ambassador. And through all of that, her focus has been clear and sharp, and it has been a focus on people's rights, human rights, Indigenous rights as human rights, land and sea and ice and water that are part of Indigenous identity, and the children who are at the heart of every one of those societies. She has focused on education and mental health and reconciliation, and in her mandate as Governor General, she has restated all those priorities. When we have recognition of Inuit, First Nations, and Métis, Mary Simon, Governor General of Canada, back then, was sitting at those constitutional tables fighting for those rights to be in the Constitution of Canada. And today, in her role as Governor General, She has again restated her priorities as being reconciliation, education, youth, mental health, land and natural resources. All of these things that matter. And of course, women are embedded through so much of all of that as well. So I am very, very honored to introduce to you, so that you can hear from her directly, the Right Honorable Mary Simon, Governor-General of Canada.
Udlakut, Segan, Kwe, bonjour, and good morning. Thank you, Marie, for your very kind introduction. I remember the days that you spoke of. They were the early days of our lives. And here I am as an elder, talking about those same issues that we talked about some 47 years ago. There's been a lot more added because now the country is more ready and open to discuss what happened to the history in the country historically. And I thank all of you, the independent special interlocutor, for inviting us and me to be here. Thank you to the elders for being here, and the survivors, Indigenous leaders, and of course the youth. So, and I think there are dignitaries here as well, and other guests. Before I begin, I just want to say a couple of words about what our youth panel said, because it reminded me of certain things that I've experienced in my life. And back in 1981, when we were negotiating the Constitution of the rights of Indigenous Canadians, Inuit, Métis, and First Nations, I was part of those discussions, and one of the biggest battles that we had to overcome at the beginning of those talks was the fact that we were all called Aboriginal people. There was no distinction between First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. And that's how the system of Canada expected us to be during this very important part of Canadian history, where the Canadian Constitution was repatriated from Great Britain. So over the years, we have successfully, through the recognition of Section 35, even after that recognition was accepted in the Constitution, it still took many, many years for us to finally be able to say that we are seen as distinct peoples in this country, first peoples of this country. So I just wanted to say this, because when you were talking, it just made me remember some of these kind of key events that have happened. Nakumiro matsiatunga iluna sinning takani katingagiatu si magatsi tamanna katingaguti si tamani nunakjuatin ni Canada mi ulumi ulaktok bimmari ulangmat daitsumani lipiruk sa sunga Tusalo hatta simalok si mangimiga maluni hanu amisuti mga tanun hakka si mayu kanatami. Tusaw matitaw siya si manginata. Ambalo unika miman uvikay teko uvikay ilang joni unika miman inusutuit uvikay how yimangilot siya matasuli ulumi hanok piu sa haktitaw si mamangata nung nakakasi mayuin. So I just wanted to say a few words in my language in Inuktitut. As you probably know, I come from the Inuit society. My mother was a unilingual Inuk woman who married a white man who was very fluent in my language. So we spoke Inuktitut at home all the time. And that's how I'm able to be very strong in my language because of my family and my community. But we did go to federal day school. I didn't go to residential school because even though the Indian Act, and today I'm thankful for that, but at the time it was hard because there was no other option of education in my community. And because my mother married a white man, even though the Indian Act supposedly didn't apply to Inuit because there's no reserves, they applied it to certain families, particularly my family, because we were 8 children. And my father tried to get us into the program to be sent away, but his request was denied. So we were never sent to residential school. In fact, my father homeschooled us throughout high school. So in many ways, I'm very fortunate to have had that experience. But as you know, as a teenager, having your father be your teacher can have its difficult challenges. But I'm forever thankful for my father for having given me the education that I do have. And, you know, I can't remember exactly which youth was talking about how you were the first one to finish high school in your family, and that you broke the curse and you encourage kids and youth to keep going to school. I think that's a really important message, because in this day and age that we live in, education is a very important part of our lives. And especially what you were talking about, how youth don't know what happened to Indigenous people historically, and they need to know. And I, for one, is working on that. I'd like to see the history books of Canada changed so that they become real, that we are reflecting the true reality of what happened in Canada. So I just wanted to say that before I give my formal remarks. And I'd like to recognize also that we are gathered on the territory of the Caughnawaga Nation, and I offer my respect to the traditional custodians of these lands and waters. I would also like to thank all of you for attending. I know that some of you are facing personal difficulties due to the wildfires impacting Yellowknife and other communities across the country. And your commitment to attending and listening to the voices of survivors, despite the adversity that you are facing, is inspirational. I'm very honored to join you here at this 5th National Gathering on Unmarked Burials. Je suis fière d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. Everything we do for our children. We work to build a better world for them. We give them a home, a community. We devote ourselves to their well-being as parents, grandparents, loved ones, friends, or neighbors. We pass down identity, language, traditions, and culture. We love them, and they look to us to keep them safe. Tout ce que nous faisons, nous le faisons pour nos enfants. Pourtant, se payer à abandonner nos enfants, c'est payer à abandonner les enfants autochtones. Our children were taken from their homes and forced into residential schools and into other places where they were forbidden to speak their language, our indigenous languages, where they were stripped of everything, their culture, their traditions, their possessions, their family, and even their names. This trauma burrows deep into our bones, unending, unyielding. And for the longest time, too long, this trauma was buried, unheard. For years, the loss, fear, and pleas from mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, and communities went unrecognized. Children disappeared at residential schools and other institutions, buried in unmarked graves, forgotten, erased. But they were not forgotten by their families, by their communities, by their people. Still today, there are those who deny the stories of residential schools, of abuse and neglect and racism. Even though residential school denialism is in the minority, it is nonetheless present. Denialism takes the form of attacks online, through the media, and through the desecration of burial sites. These attacks are attempts to control the story of Indigenous peoples. Despite those that refuse to accept these realities, or maybe because of it, our voices got louder and louder. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission went across the country to witness and document this tragedy, sharing its findings and calls to action with Canadians. 2 years ago, when I was just being appointed as a Governor General, a wave of the tragedy regarding residential schools hit the national consciousness. The precise location of unmarked burials of children at residential school in Kamloops. Other waves followed. Other communities made similar announcements. More unmarked graves of children that attended residential schools. These were innocent children whose stories will now be known. These children will never be forgotten again. The work you are doing keeps their memories alive. Your work challenges denialism and false narratives. You're listening to survivors and giving them a voice. Your work sends an important message. We see you. We hear you. We believe you. We support you. Ensemble, nous allons de l'avant en mettant l'accent sur la guérison, le respect, l'engagement, l'empathie. Tout commence par la vérité. Canadians can no longer say, I didn't know, We now acknowledge all aspects of our history, both the good and the bad. We can't bring these children back, but we can empower ourselves to ensure that our traditions and communities don't just survive, but thrive. I have seen what happens when Indigenous peoples advocate for themselves. As an Indigenous person, I am proud to be a part of that, both as Governor General and throughout my career fighting for Indigenous rights. Change is happening, even though it is slow. Progress has been made, is being made. Last year, we welcomed the Pope to our land on a journey of penitence. The Pope came here to listen, engage, and acknowledge the trauma caused by the Catholic Church. We heard the words of an apology. The Archbishop of Canterbury of the Church of England did the same, apologizing for the terrible crime of residential schools. How do we continue to engage people so that we move from listening to action? What comes next? Does peace come with all these apologies? The reality is that the world is facing many challenges. Canadians are facing significant economic hardships as part of their day-to-day reality. The world is facing conflicts, climate change, and increasing natural disasters. Often these issues can be overwhelming and can lead to empathy and compassion fatigue. In short, we are asking people to care a lot about many things, which can lead to emotional burnout. So let me outline 3 steps to help address this. First and foremost, take care of yourselves. Many people remind me of the same. Tout d'abord, prenez soin de vous. Working on behalf of children who lost their lives or on behalf of families looking for closure can be emotionally draining. We must recognize signs of stress and mental health concerns. We must all take the time to heal our own hearts and souls. Healing is different for everyone. It is a journey, not a destination. It takes time. It follows its own path, but it does happen. And like one of our youth said, you have to want to do it yourself. You have to make that commitment. Other people can't force you to do it. Second, make education a priority and share your stories as widely as possible. Deuxièmement, faites que l'éducation soit une priorité et partagez vos histoires autant que possible. Share the stories of the children who died and those who suffered. Each had a name, had hopes, dreams, fears, and joys. Each had potential that would never be realized. That is a loss for families, for communities, and for our country. Des rencontres comme celle-ci peuvent être le meilleur endroit pour partager ces histoires. I'm still learning French, so please pardon me for sometimes mispronouncing some of my words. I will take what I learned here and share it widely with Canadians, as I have since becoming an honorary witness of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of 2014, or in 2014. Find others who will do the same: teachers, parents, leaders, governments, businesses, organizations. Let people, Indigenous and non-Indigenous alike, help you carry this weight and spread knowledge. Third and finally, it is important to remind ourselves of what we have already accomplished. Troisièmement, il est important de nous rappeler tout ce que nous avons déjà accompli. We are further ahead than we were 5, 10, 20 years ago. We have seen the steps taken on the path of reconciliation, which includes apologies from the churches and governments who ran these institutions, repudiation of the doctrine of discovery, a personal meeting this year during the coronation between His Majesty King Charles III and the national Indigenous leaders, Canadian national Indigenous leaders, to discuss reconciliation and a way forward. And unanimous recognition by the House of Commons that the residential school system was genocide. We have also seen the outpouring of support from Canadians as more children are located in unmarked graves. Families and whole communities are working together to find ways to honor the memories of these children and the sites where they were buried. And we are talking about next steps and what resources communities need, both in terms of equipment and mental health services. It is important to put mental and physical health together as they go hand in hand. Without one or the other, it is hard for us to function. A lot has been done, but a lot of work remains. When I look at this audience, particularly at the young people, I'm reassured that our work of reconciliation will continue into the next generation. Il est rassurant de savoir que la prochaine génération, vous les jeunes, poursuivra ce travail important. All of you in attendance need to be included. Your opinions and ideas need to be heard and considered. Hope is a great motivator, and there is hope. I have hope, and I believe in all of you. You are our hope. Je mentionne plutôt l'importance des mots suivants: guérison, respect, engagement, empathie, la vérité. J'aimerais ajouter maintenant un dernier mot: la paix. Let me leave you with one last word: peace. Peace for the families who can finally know. Peace for ourselves as we heal and help others to heal. Peace for the children who can finally rest, their stories safe. And I'm very honored to join you in your work, to share your story with Canadians. Thank you, Nakokmik, merci, miigwech.